Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to our regular meeting. Before we get into the agenda, I have a proclamation here that I'd be honored to sign, recognizing Early Childhood Educators Week. So we have some children and staff from Happy Days Daycare, and unfortunately the folks at Wonder Years, something came up the last minute and they were unable to attend here this evening, so they passes on their regrets. So I need some children here now to help me sign and read my proclamation. So who's coming up? Come around this way. Look, come around the back. There we go. Now I need two here and two here. How about that? Okay. Now, what's your name?
Miles.
Miles. Okay. Do you know who our counselors are? This is Counselor Bruce King. This is Counselor Laura Crowley. This is Counselor Sadie King. And this is Counselor Steve Windsor. And this is our acting CAO this evening, Marie Searle. So, and what's your name?
Tucker.
Tucker. Tucker? Cool haircut. And what's your name?
Ava.
Ava. Okay. Now, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Now, do you guys know what Early Childhood Educators Week is all about? No? What it is, we take a full week to recognize the great work that all the staff does at the daycare. They does great work, don't they? Why don't we get some staff members up here? So joining us now is Karen Dolly, and Karen is the administrator and owner of Happy Days Daycare as well. So, thanks for being here. So, what I was saying, this is an opportunity for me as mayor on behalf of all the residents of Holyrood to make it official that this is going to be Early Childhood Educators Week. Okay? And it does wonderful work, don't they? Right? And they're all special, and they look after you all very well and keep you all very safe, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you all enjoy daycare?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Now, how about you, Miss Dolly?
Oh, I love this.
Okay.
It's a joy.
Do anybody want to help me read this?
Ava,
We'll try. Ava, come over, Ava. You come over, sit on my lap. Now, there we go.
Oh,
And we're gonna-
here's Wonder Years.
Oh, okay, here's Wonder Years. Thank you very much, folks, for showing up.
Those are her two kids.
So, folks, it's great to see you guys. You're right on time. So with us now is Amanda Kennedy from Wonder Years Daycare. And who do we have with us?
We got Liam and Nicholas.
Liam and Nicholas. Okay, perfect. We're just about now to sign the proclamation. And I just explained the purpose of Early Childhood Educators Week. So, let's go. Whereas the Association of Early Childhood Educators of Newfoundland and Labrador represents those working in childcare and related fields throughout the province. Whereas early childhood educators provide developmentally appropriate care and education to children from birth to age 12 in a variety of settings, and whereas such care and education fosters the social, emotional, cognitive, and physical growth and development of these children and supports families in a variety of ways. And whereas this support of children and families ensures the future health of our society. Therefore, I, Gary Gooby, hereby proclaim the week of May 29th to June 4th, 2022 as Provincial Early Childhood Educators Week. So now we're going to make this official and I'm going to sign it. You're very cuddly. You want to stay with me for the rest of the meeting? Okay, folks,
We're done.
we got her done.
Yay.
Is there anything you'd like to say? Do we want to thank our childhood educators?
Thank you. Thank you.
All together. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
There you go. I think that's well said.
Can I get a picture of Happy Days before you guys get down?
Yeah.
Just for Karen. Smile, cheek, big smile. Yes. Perfect.
Perfect.
And I, on behalf of my council colleagues and all the residents, we want to say thank you so much for the great work that our early childhood educators does in looking after and making sure that when your parents drop you off in the mornings, that they're going to be in good hands and well looked after and well fed and well safe, and go out and fill your boots out in the playground, right? And go home when you're all dirty and tired, right? After all day.
They filled their boots already. How many popcorn did you have yesterday? 8 cups of popcorn.
Some of these folks got some wicked appetites. So don't be discouraged by their size. Don't get that throw you off.
Walk away.
Okay, folks, thank you so much, and keep in mind that all this week we got to really, really look after our teachers, don't we? And probably bring in a little gift or a little thank you or something like that, just to say we recognize the great work you're doing.
Make a card.
Is there anything you guys like to say?
No, I think you said it all.
Okay. Now you going to stay with me for the rest of the meeting? No.
It's pretty boring.
I don't blame you.
Don't forget your bag.
Okay, now, before we go, I'm not letting you off now without giving you something from the old mayor. Yeah, what do we got? We got some, oh, these are not for you. We got some goodies, little treats. Here, Tucker. Ooh, wow.
Thank you.
There you go. Ho, ho, ho. And over here. There you go. And for this little guy here.
There you go.
Guess what? I got a bag left for myself. And I'm not sharing, Councillor Windsor.
I think we need to teach Mayor Gooby by sharing.
Share and share alike. Now, what else did the mayor got in his drawer? Some more goodies. So I'm going to give these to the staff, and these were sent by the fire chief. He dropped them off this afternoon to make sure guys you got them. And it's all about fire safety. So there's some really nice, now everybody knows who Sparky is, don't you?
Yeah.
Sparky the dog. So these are some nice posters you can put in your room. And we have some magnets here. I'm sure I'll get more. Give them out after, sure.
Yep.
And what else have we got? Oh my God, the fire chief sent lots of good stuff. Yeah, coloring books.
What a pile of loot.
Nah, were you expecting this today?
Wow.
Lily, grab me a coloring book.
Now, lots of coloring. And we just have a couple of 911 stickers that you can, or magnets that you can put on your refrigerators. And I think that'll do it.
There we go. What do you say to Mr. Gooby?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And we'll see you back here again next year for Early Childhood Educators Week, won't we? All right?
All right, thank you. You
You're
want to
quite
let Tucker
welcome.
around you?
Yep. I thought he was going the other way.
Yeah.
See you, bud.
Yep.
Thank you so much. You're awesome. Yes, but I won't take one. Thank you.
Sign 'em up? Give the gavel to him so he can take away from you.
Good night, folks. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Curtis, are you there? Give
I
me
was
some
just
phone.
wondering, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I answered, you're sitting right next to me, buddy. I answered the call, but didn't know if you were there or not because the mayor was in the middle of speaking. But we can hear you loud and clear. I'm not sure volume a little bit.
Tell him he missed the coloring books.
Yeah, there's colouring books give out and loot bags.
And treats.
Now, you won't give me one, sure, I'm here.
Okay, we'll get down to the agenda, and we have lots of items to discuss this evening. So I will now call the meeting to order. The agenda is there before you. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Moved by Councillor Sadie King, seconded by Councillor Crawley. Further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge that Councillor Woodford, Deputy Mayor Woodford, is unavailable this evening. So anyway, she passed on her regrets, and we have Councillor Curtis Buckle online on the phone. Okay. Let me see. The minutes of the meeting from May 3rd. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, if not, business arising. No business arising. Okay, mayor's update. I have a couple of items here. Okay, first of all, I had a resident approach me last week and inform me that there's some campfires discovered up at Murray's Peak and George Cove Mountain. And so, you know, while the intention here is innocent to, after a long walk, especially up Murray's Peak, you know, to have a nice little cook up and a ball up or whatever, unfortunately, we have to discourage this due to the dry conditions, which pose a serious fire risk. And we all know that we never had much snow over the winter. There's not much runoff. Everything is dry. So, like I said, unfortunately, we have to discourage this completely because there has been multiple campfires discovered at both locations. To my knowledge, there's no source of water there to extinguish these campfires. And while it may look to be out, it may not. And these fires have a tendency to burn down in the ground, and they can burn for an extended period of time. So if they're left unattended and you get windy conditions, you could have a serious incident happen there, and we certainly don't want that. The other point that I want to make, last week, the Department of Transportation announced the 2022 road plan, and I'm disappointed to hear that Route 60 was not included in that plan. We understand there's many bridges, culverts, and roads throughout the province in deplorable condition, and the budgeted amount only scratches the surface of road infrastructure that needs such improvements and repairs. We will continue to lobby the department for consideration of funding for next year's budget. It's disappointing, but I guess the engineering assessments that are conducted by the department dictates which roads should be on the priority list. I hope that the department will increase the infrastructure, the budget for road repairs and infrastructure in next year's budget. But having said that, as late as this afternoon, because it was questioned in the House of Assembly, and the minister did say that he recognizes Route 60 is not on the road plan, even though he do live on Route 60. But he said that you can still, consideration will be given under the upgraded maintenance plan. Okay? So let's hope that sections of Holyrood will be included in this plan. So I think the purpose of the maintenance plan is to do, you know, long sections, not just filling in potholes, but sections. So that may or may not be on the list, but we will continue to reach out to the department and give that consideration and ask them to give it consideration. But the minister did say that he's quite aware of Route 16 and he's going to see what can be done. On a more positive note, this past weekend, the Central Avalon Ground Search and Rescue conducted a home year community cleanup focusing on the rail bed. They filled a dumpster and even had an overflow. I saw lots of bags down at the festival grounds. Mabel Tilley, one of the coordinators, said they collected about 30 tires, 3 truckloads of metal, including all washers, stoves, and even a deep freeze. Now, just imagine what we can see on the rail bed. The group did an amazing job, and we extend a huge thank you for their dedication and tireless efforts. And be assured we appreciate the wonderful work they do, and they are certainly a big part of our community because they're involved in so many activities that go on and support the town in many ways. So we certainly appreciate the great work that they continue to do. Last week, we were all shocked and saddened to hear of the massive shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, claiming the lives of 19 small children and 2 adults. While we all struggle to understand why these targeted acts of local terrorism and mass murder can happen, we have to remain hopeful that the appropriate gun control measures will be put into legislation to help avoid this travesty from happening in the future. On behalf of all my council colleagues, staff, and residents of Holyrood, we offer our thoughts and prayers to the many families and friends of their loved ones during this extremely difficult time. And the other one is I received notification that one of our former residents, Joseph Fuhr, and I remember Joseph Fuhr back 40 years ago when we served on the altar. So Joe has went into forces 34 years ago, and we learned last week that he will be retiring and returning to his roots, returning to Holyrood in July. So further to that, I sent an email because they are having a ceremony for him in Ottawa and a recognition and celebration of his retirement in Ottawa. So on behalf of council and the town, I sent off an email which I'll read now, and when Mr. Fuhr returns to Holyrood in July, hopefully we can make it more official here at the local level by presenting a certificate or whatnot. Maybe during the Squid Fest could be a good time. So here's the letter that I sent. Dear Major Fuhr, as Mayor of the Town of Holyrood, it gives me tremendous pleasure to offer our most sincere congratulations on your retirement from the Armed Forces, Royal Canadian Forces. It takes a very unselfish and strong commitment to offer your services as a member of the military, and you have done it well. Your commitment of 34 years of service is a true example of dedication, patience, and loyalty. Your service to the well-being and safety of this country is truly a remarkable accomplishment, and we here in your hometown of Holyrood are very proud to call you one of our own. On behalf of my council colleagues, staff, and all residents of Holyrood, we applaud and truly thank you for your service. May we join with you and all your family and friends in offering you your next orders. And Councillor Bruce King can know what the orders mean in the military. It has significance, which is to relax and enjoy your retirement to the fullest. So once again, congratulations on your retirement, and be assured your services are much appreciated. We wish you good health and memorable experiences in the years ahead. And thank you for standing on guard for thee. So that is the letter that I sent to Mr. Fuhr, Major Fuhr, on your behalf. Okay, those are the mayor's points, and now we will move on to correspondence. So we have one piece there from CBC Minor Softball, which I will read out. Dear Councillors and Recreation Committee, CBC Minor Softball will be offering a softball program to children from the ages of 5 to 18 for the 2022 season. We, therefore, are requesting use of the town softball field from Monday through Thursday from 5 to 8:30 p.m., with regular season commencing June 11th and ending September the 30th. However, some teams have begun their season already. In anticipation of cooperation from the town, we would like a commitment that the field will be maintained and upkept on a regular basis to ensure a good playing field and a safe environment for the kids. I would also request that you forward a contact name for further bookings that may arise outside of the said requested times. Thank you in advance for your support and await your reply. So that is from Jim Corbett, President of the CBC Minor Softball. Any comments or questions on that? I think we will.
Would that be a standard letter every year?
I can't verify that for sure. I think there's a good possibility. So I think what we'll do now is take this correspondence and it'll be passed on to the members of the Recreation Community Events in concert with Public Works Committee where there's maintenance involved. Okay, we all good with that? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it's great to see our recreation facilities being utilized to their maximum, especially in the summer and for our kids. And I think as one of the councillors on the recreation committee, we'll look into that and see what we can work with, and also Public Works. And also if they're requesting a facility, and there is a washroom facility there that we can work and get them on side so that they can have a key to open that for the kids to use and stuff. But for to see that request there tonight and be able to work with the CBC softball league and be able to utilize our field, it's all great stuff. Along with our new soccer field, it's nice to see our recreation facilities being used in our town.
Okay, thank you, sir, and I fully agree. I think all that area is going to be a busy spot this summer, for sure. Okay, any other questions or comments on that? If not, we will move on to Planning and Development, and Councillor Windsor, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Buckle up, there's like a lot of stuff on here. So. Yeah, so Michelle, our Deputy Mayor Woodford, is not with us, right? She's on a well-deserved break. So I'll represent the committee, right? And we last met on last Thursday. The date was that, the 25th. So in attendance was the Deputy Mayor, myself, and CAO Corbett, and a ton of stuff on the agenda, right? And that just speaks to the time of year that it is. It's a real busy time, and everybody's out and getting their projects going, right? There are a number of motions there, which I'll get to, but to just give you like a little brief update, I guess, in the Section A general update. And what we talked about there was non-conformances and variances, and there were a number of applications where we agreed we would send a letter, send letters back to those particular applicants or those residents explaining why they are their application is non-conforming, or why the town's position or rationale around having a variance would not be suitable. Variances aren't automatic, right? So we discussed that, and when we talked about, like how past mistakes, aren't precedents to continue those non-conformances in the future, right? So that was sort of like a general discussion. I don't need to get into all the different applications or residents that were affected by that, but that was there was a number of them, and letters were issued accordingly by staff, and also by way of general update, the town plan, where we are with that. We were scheduled to meet this week, but due to conflicting commitments for both Deputy Mayor and CAO, that's been deferred to next Wednesday evening, okay? So that's that, and there's 7 different motions here to get into, which I'll do. But first up is permits. This will be the general permit listing, which is attached to your information package for tonight. There's 37 permits on there which are recommended for approval, and these would be, I would call, like the run-of-the-mill type stuff, and a wide variety of things: fence, repairs, shed, general repairs to home, extension to home, different things like that, a greenhouse, all within our regulations, and filtered by the staff. Like any ones that are problematic, they get thrown to the side for additional discussion. But these 37 that are attached all fully comply with all the town regulations, and are therefore recommended for approval, right? So I'll read the motion. Be it resolved to table and approve the attached permit listing. 37 permits were issued May 2nd to 27th. Permit numbers 05-024-22 to 05-0060-22. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion? If not, all those in favour? Contrary, motion is carried.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Next motion, this in regards to a business, a home-based business for custom detailing at 42 Country Path. Now, this particular fall got a lot of discussion. We thought that it would be, this type of business would be, worthwhile in the community. I think that, it's a necessary service that's being offered. However, what we talked about at the planning meeting was the concerns that got raised. We currently do not have that type of business listed in our regulations, right? And that particular area, concerns around traffic and water usage as well, right? That came up. What we did also talk about was referring it to the Business Development Committee to work with the applicant, and maybe there's a different location that could be suitable. So that's the discussion. The motion, I'll read the motion, and then all council discuss as you feel appropriate. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood reject the above application and does not currently meet the town's development regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor Crawley. Further discussion?
Yeah, I just had a question here, and I'm seconded because I haven't got it on from the CSA either for corporate service administration. So this would have to be added to schedule rates and fees.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's right.
So there's kind of no standard here yet.
No,
No.
not for that business type, no.
Okay, any other questions?
Was that the only reason why it was rejected?
No, it's not the only reason. The other reasons were traffic concerns in the residential area, right? Vehicles that are coming to get cleaned, right? Coming and going, additional traffic in the residential area, and additional water use, right? There have been water problems in the area, as I understand it, from the Director of Public Works.
And it's not
Right.
a mixed commercial anyway, right? Just
Yeah, the
It's
zoning.
non-conforming.
Yeah, it's non-conforming to the current zoning,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's it alone.
That's the big one.
Change that.
So would council entertain a rezoning in that residential area to allow that business type? That's the question you gotta ask yourselves, I guess, right?
Advertise and everything then,
Yes,
You
absolutely.
need a regulation amendment for
You-
that.
you
You'd
would.
have to go through the process with municipal affairs and
Yeah.
all right, so right now it doesn't meet.
So there's a process to follow. That was council's will, right? Would be a process to follow to amend regulations accordingly, right? And you'd have to ensure that the area residents were also okay with that,
Right.
like gazetting it and
With the
so on,
advertising.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, we will go to the vote. And the vote is to reject the application. Those in favor? Those against? Motion to reject is carried.
Okay. Next one there, Mayor. D, 6D on your agenda, 568 Conception Bay Highway. This is for a residential double dwelling. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to town's development regulations. So we saw no issue this application. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? And yes, that is, that's straightforward.
Is that
And
the one that was advertised? No,
In-
okay, sorry.
Something
Okay.
different.
yeah, that's owned residential. Yeah. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried. Councillor Buckle.
Favor.
Yeah, we recognize we can't see you if you raise your hand.
Well, we'll go with if you speak up, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard time of technology, but I figured that one out. All right, no, thanks for that. Okay, Mayor, next one on the list is 6E, Kennedy's Lane, and the proposal is to extend water from Taplin Place, and council may recall this came up at the previous council meeting and has been the subject of discussions for the last several months and several committee meetings, site visit, committee of the whole, so on, right? So the applicant has written council to advise that purchaser is more interested in water service, and that's affecting his business, and the application is to connect to Taplin Place. Prior council approval was for well and septic service. Just want to sort of refresh and recalibrate everybody's memory on that. So we discussed this at length. Committee, and the recommendation from committee is to reject. I'll read the motion and then everyone can discuss. Be it resolved, Town of Holyrood reject the application to extend water line from Taplin Place to Kennedy's Lane for the following reasons. Town is not prepared to enter into an easement arrangement on private land to extend the water line from the serviced road, Taplin Place, to the non-serviced road, Kennedy's Lane, to service 3 new residences. Kennedy's Lane has traditionally been developed with large lots with well and septic, and by approving an extension of the water line through Taplin Place, it will only service 3 homes and will cause an extra tax burden on landowners on the opposite side of the road, with no landowner means to connect to this water other than personal resources. 2. Town Regulation 80 M states that residential lots shall not be permitted which abut a local street at both front and rear lot lines. Taplin Place. The developer has presented a green space to the rear of Kennedy's Lane lots, and this green space needs to be outside the legal survey boundary for each of 3 lots. 3. If the proponent wishes to connect 3 lots to town water from Taplin, then the town's full subdivision regulations would be adhered to, and a decision made to extend Taplin Place Road to accommodate the extension of the water line to the properties. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by, can I have a seconder please? Seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion?
Okay, so it was, oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead,
Councillor
Councillor
Buckle.
Buckle.
Yeah, I read the minutes of the meeting since this whole application came before council, and it's been quite some while now, and last council meeting it was approved for well and septic, and the components, the person who owns the property come back and is looking to tie into water. Me personally, I don't see a problem with having an easement there to run the water up to that house if we had the cost of the homeowner, to extend the water up there, and, you know, the town regulation 80 states about the house fronting one road and the back fronting another road. I mean, the whole, on that road now on Taplin Place and Kennedy Lane, I mean, the houses are either fronting one way or the other way, because it's really in between two roads. And, you know, there is property that's back out the road that, you know, means up on Kennedy Lane, that the water line in the past was, ran up through, other property to service water there. You know, I mean, I'm supportive, you know, supportive of that, extending the water, letting the person extend the water line up to the property to connect those houses, you know what I mean? Obviously, he's, you know what I mean, he's come back and asked for water for a reason, and, you know what I mean, obviously, you know what I mean, there's tree lots here, it's tax revenue for the town, it's new residents, it's people moving in. So my take on it, you know what I mean, I would recommend that we, you know, my take would be to let them extend the water with easement. You know what I mean, I know easements happen all the time through this land power. You have to get easements from people to put poles on property, and to give an easement here, and when the water up to serve those houses, I don't have a problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Crawley.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get all, because I didn't look at the documents, the plan or the line, you know, the layout. So the three are gonna, we approve 3 fronting Kennedy's Lane with water and septic. And where's the water line coming from? Taplin's Place?
Yes.
Is that the water line, the one water line to come from Taplin's Place? And, but if right now, if we're following the planning and regulation development, that would mean that they'd have to front Taplin Place.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If it's on town water and sewer, they're supposed to front Taplin Place. Is that? Yeah.
Well, if it's going to be consistent with that development.
With the, right, so that's, yeah, so I'm just trying to see, so, okay, so the water line, they're asking to extend it up through so that the houses can still face Kennedy's Lane, but have the water service from Taplin Place. Yeah. And this easement on the private land, is that, like, was that approach to the owners who's?
Goes in between the landowners, right?
One that's
So last
previously, one that's application and one that's previously, like, there already?
Yeah, in between there.
Okay, I'm just trying to picture where that goes. So the easement, not prepared to enter an easement arrangement. So the town would have to ask for this arrangement to this other private person, this other owner. Not the one application, but another owner.
Not another owner, no.
We'd have to enter
It's
it.
this owner, yeah.
It's this owner.
It would be a town easement on this owner's land, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the only thing is we've run into problems already with that.
Yes.
Previous problems.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm working it all out. 1 second. I'm in. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of discussion here has been focused on the easement, right? But you'll note number 1, right? It's the tax burden. So according to our own regulations, there are other people on Kennedy's Lane. When that happens, they will have to pay the water tax whether they hook on or not, right?
Well, but they already got water.
No, they don't.
No.
That's the point.
Taplin Place don't have
On,
water.
Taplin do.
on
but-
Kennedy's.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, Kennedy's.
On Kennedy's.
Lane.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
When
So
you
Taplin,
run a
I thought
water
it
line
would be automatic.
on a
It's
road,
all well and septic.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right.
And they don't know that.
No, well,
Well, they will now. Give a winter, yeah. Okay, yeah, no,
right. And then you have to get into discussions about extending the line down
down further or up
Kennedy's
further.
Lane and make
Wow.
and service the whole road. That'll be the next inevitable discussion that would follow, right?
Yeah. And right now, there is no town water across Kennedy's Lane at all.
No.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, in terms of the, you know, the business opportunity, right, and you know, the development. From the beginning, council's been open-minded to the approach, one way or the other, whatever works best, right? But I mean, we need to follow our regulations. Is the key, right? And doing it in the right manner, right? So, in the right manner, I think would be to have the water and sewer services, and we should try to connect to water and sewer services wherever we can in the town, where it makes sense to do so. But best practice and our regulations in the logical fashion to do that would be to extend tap in place, right?
And then the
And not create,
regulations
regulations,
in play.
not to create new complications for ourselves, tax burdens for other residents, and future infrastructure issues by having easements and crossing two distinct zones, two distinct roads, with two totally different service levels, right? So I think it can be done, but like as we've discussed quite a bit the last number of months, there's a clear path to doing that, right?
Well, the thing is too, years and years ago, I mean, it was not out of the norm where houses hooked on the houses. You know, somebody's got 2 acres of land,
Yeah.
and you know, you put up 4 houses, you just hook one onto the other, and that became very problematic over the years, because there was one in particular where there was a business connected onto a house, and there was a lot of fat built up and grease and everything over the years, and it was a major blockage. So the question is, who's responsible? So back many years ago, we tried to get away from that, whereby, if possible, the homeowner will hook right onto the main line. But you know, because I know there's situations in Holyrood now, there's several homes hooked on together.
Yeah. Well, and one of the
And
first.
it's not proper development.
No, and one of the first
setting
things
a
that
dangerous
the
person.
mayor had me do, with me, we did it when I first joined council. We conducted a site visit of another area resident, and related to an easement, right? And there's a lot of issues around that. Not appropriate to get into here because it's a separate file that's been dealt with appropriately, right? But it creates issues for the future council and the future staff, right? And we're not anti-development at all, right? We're pro-development, we're for sustainable development done in the right way, right? And I think that it needs to be done in the right way.
And the regulations over the years have been updated, and that's what we're required to do as a council, is adhere to and abide by our regulations. So it's a difficult one, but we have to do what we feel is right as a collective group. So, all right. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Buckle, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask a question. Number 3 there's the proposal to connect 3 lots of town water in the full subdivision regulations will be brought. Did I see back from the minister before that he was looking to extend the water and sewer into the back of the lot and field from the back? Am I correct in saying that? I don't have it in front of me now, but there was something there saying that the developer at one point was looking to extend the water and sewer on Kings Lane into the cul-de-sac to feed those 3 houses on Kings Lane from the back. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's correct. That was one of the iterations or revisions of application, and they were connecting all through the back, right? So it's a little bit different than what's currently being proposed, which comes from Taplin through an easement and going along Kennedy's Lane. That revision, Curtis, or Councillor Buckle, I should say, was extending from Taplin and in through the back of the homes, if I recall correctly. But we were back and forth on that with the applicant, and there was 2 or 3 different revisions, right? And this is where we are today, I guess.
Yeah, so I see it there, and I moved to it in my mind there that there was something going on. So if he extended the water and sewer, he could go to the back of those property.
Yeah, and on the subdivision regulations, I mean, I know it says there, the full subdivision regulations. Now, I mean, to my mind, and the regulations say the council can waive it. Talk about sidewalks, right? Sidewalks are a requirement. I mean, I don't think sidewalks are required, right? But one big thing I think that's in the subdivision regulations that it wouldn't be waived would be 10% allocation of green space, right? That would be an important one, I think, if it went down that way. But, you know, look, yeah, I mean,
And extending the water and sewer line in Taplin Place too would enable the developer to, you know, connect to more homes as well.
you know, that's right, Mayor, and like, to me, like, when I, like, sit back and brainstorm on the development of the area, and I certainly like to see it all developed in the right way. I mean, you talk about future proofing and future planning and future business opportunities. Like, that land there could extend all the way down to Vitch's Crescent, right? If people are familiar with the area, Taplin Place could come up and you could make a turn and continue right down to Vitch's Crescent. Now you got a water and service for the whole area instead of just like one piece, which would be more problematic than to run it back in the other way, right? So something else to think about.
Is that something we could look at in the 2023 budget?
No, that would be the developer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
For water, okay.
And of course, you'd have to do a cost analysis to see if, you know, the viability of it or whatever. But again, that's sort of outside of our jurisdiction here. Okay, if there's no further discussion, you may move the motion. You can close debate.
So moved.
Okay, was that already?
Yep, it was seconded.
That was moved and seconded.
Okay.
Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor to reject, please raise your hands. Those in favor?
Country, yeah.
Or those against, sorry?
For clarity, Councillor Buckles against rejecting this motion. Is
Against.
that correct? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in favor of the motion now.
Okay.
Okay, I never picked that up. Okay, so on that basis, the motion to reject has been approved.
Okay, so letter F, 26 Skibbereen Road, proposal residential. Tricky one with this is the watershed area for Harbour Main and Chapel's Cove. You might remember previous council discussions on that subject. But, you know, committee discussed it, and we certainly have no problem with the application, but we all need to understand that additional piece of red tape or bureaucracy or process or procedure that we need to go through, which is the engagement of the province with respect to the Water Resources Division because it's in the watershed area, right? So our recommendation is to approve it, understanding that we do need to follow that process. I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle and subject to town's development regulation and subject to a referral from Water Resources Division to the province. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor Buckle. Further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could just weigh in there, you know, I mean, this is one that, you know, I mean, this is one that struck council there a while ago, you know, I mean, the water resources moved the boundaries up there, and, you know, I mean, our CEO was back and forth here because when they done that public part and that up there for the watershed, we weren't notified that time for any input from the town, and I know that the CAO reached out to the department, so I'm not sure how that went after.
Yeah, Councillor Buckle, you're correct. You know, we were left out of that process, which was a terrible oversight, in my opinion, the province. There was no further updates on it, no remediation or correction to the issue, right? So I can't give an update on that. We think that once we push this through, that might prompt
Right.
revisiting the subject and reopening, if you will, of that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, just for point there, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, as you said, we were left out, you know what I mean, that's prime land for residential land, you know, in our town, you know what I mean? We want to be aware of it, you know, unacceptable, really.
Agree.
Okay, Councillor Crawley.
Clarification, that's all, just as the Water Resources Division. So will this be out of our hands at this point? If we approve it, then it has to go through another approval process with
Yes.
the province, so there's really, it's out of our hands. Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay,
And that may precipitate.
so it's out of our hands, yeah, okay.
Which is a good thing. We need to get it dealt
Yeah,
with
just
one way
kind
or
of
the other.
odd, like, here you go,
But, you know, in fairness to this applicant,
That's right.
should move ahead.
Exactly. You're correct.
Okay.
Yeah, as I see it, you're correct. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we will call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Councillor Buckle?
Yeah.
Those against, motion is carried.
Okay, letter G, location Liam Hickey Drive, and the proposal is a quarry and the zoning is rural. The town is working through a review of the municipal plan. Council will not entertain quarry applications until the review of quarries through the municipal plan process is completed. Therefore, be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood reject the application for a quarry on Liam Hickey Drive from Siteworks Excavation and Development Limited. When the town plan review is completed, the town will be willing to discuss opportunities that may exist in the new plan for quarry development. So moved. So just for everybody's understanding.
Moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, you know, the committee recognizes, and we all recognize the importance of a quarry to development and construction projects in the province. And Holyrood's fortunate enough to have some of the best aggregate available. However, that being said, we've talked about, and the residents have voiced to us as their officials, a concern about, you know, being sprinkled all over the place. So what we want to do with the town plan is designate a particular area that is appropriate for all and acceptable to all, right? So wouldn't be appropriate, in our view anyway, at this point in time, to approve this and then change the rules when we reissue the town plan in some months' time, right? So that was just our feedback from the committee on the motion.
Councillor Crowley?
Sorry, and personally, I wouldn't move forward to any quarry until I knew that in our plan, we have a remediation plan in there. So it'd have to be like the timeline, what's involved, the remediation, because I don't think that's in there, correct?
No, that's right, and council may recall, like, we had a meeting with, I think it was Mr. Shepherd of the province, I think it was before Christmas, and, you know, they have introduced some new requirements, and some of that includes remediation, none of which have been actually successfully applied yet, right? So, you know, it's met with a certain degree of skepticism, but, you know, we need to make sure that both the province and our town have the appropriate regulations in place to cover that. Because if we do designate a certain area we agree upon, that's fine. But then in 2 decades' time, when the resource is exhausted, it needs to be put back to natural state.
And that's where sufficient bonding has to come into play, which is, and I felt strongly about this for several years, the bonding does not go as far as it should. Because if a quarry is abandoned for whatever reason, or things go awry and they're not compliant with how they're supposed to operate that quarry, and we have to intervene with the department, you want to make sure that there's sufficient bonding there that can kick in and remediate that property the way it should be. So there's a lot of discussion got to take place with the quarries. We have some quarries that are owned by some very responsible people, and kudos to them. They respect the town. Unfortunately, we have others that a lot of stuff is being ignored. So it has been challenging for many councils prior to us.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things, Mayor, like, you know, the other fall we talked about earlier in the meeting is you know, we are pro-development, but we want to take the time to make sure it gets done in the right manner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, any other, Councillor King?
Just one question. Is this company located in Holyrood, or is it,
Good question, Councillor King. I'm not 100% sure.
right? Because, I mean, and if, for example, and I know what we discussed the regulations before, you know, if this company, for example, is from, I don't know, just throw it at Mount Pearl, right? I mean, what's to say they come in here, do whatever they want, leave, and we end up picking up the bill, right? So, I mean, it'd be nice to know where this company actually their head office is, or is it a Holyrood company? Is it a Mount Pearl company? Is it a wherever company, right?
Well,
Because-
there's a lot of loopholes in that current provincial legislation right now, for the simple reason. One way around it is that they go in every year and renew it. So instead of saying, I'm done with it, now it's time to do some remediation, which is going to cost money, they'll just renew their application and leave the quarry idle. So there's a lot of loopholes that we have to discuss and iron out at our level, and same way with the province. If we're going to be doing these things right, because like you're saying, you're correct. That whole area is probably one of the best areas for aggregate on the Avalon, for sure. And that's why there's so many people trying to get up there. Councillor?
I don't think it
King?
matters where the company is from. I think
No.
we gotta get enough bonding in place that if they move out and leave things undone, we can get our company to go in and do it. We got many eyesores in Holyrood now that are a result of quarries. And I've been here now almost 25 years and we're still dealing with it for 25 years.
Yeah. And we're trying to get it
is
cleaned up
an
and done
eyesore.
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we don't do things right, it's gonna come back to bite us eventually.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments on that, the motion have been moved and seconded. All those in favor to reject the application, please raise your hands. Councillor Buckle?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, those against, motion is carried.
Okay, Mayor and my patient colleagues, last one, H, which is really, you know, to me, and us as the committee, was an administrative item. It's around a regional plan. Logie Bay, Middle Cove and Outer Cove regional plan amendment, and it reached out to us, right? And no issue from our perspective, but it does require a formal motion of council, okay?
I'm going to be a little bit sarcastic here now, but I've been around here for many, many years. And since the government brought this in by this regional plan amendment, like I always said, it's not my place as mayor of Holyrood to tell the mayor in Torbay what he can or cannot do, or any other jurisdiction.
That's
So
right.
it's a nonsensical procedure, as far as I'm
It's
concerned,
a
but it's enshrined in
procedural thing.
provincial legislation, and
Yeah.
this goes out now to all the other municipalities. It's just another layer of red tape in getting
Yeah.
through something.
And we would
Because I
have to do
remember-
the same.
We have to do the
Right.
same, and I remember we held up a developer here back years ago for 9 months. 9 months trying to work its way through the plant, and it only
Yeah.
takes one municipality to contest it, and it can hold up the whole thing. And I always said it's the most nonsensical process that was put in place, but that's the rules and regulations we got to abide by.
Yeah,
So
and I was
every
unaware
time
of
these
it
are
as well.
brought up, I really got to get that dig in, because it's just nonsensical.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did, because
Like I said,
you
we're not-
were reading my mind. I just learned of this process or procedure last week, and was a little dumbfounded that we have to do that. So I was just going to read the motion, but I'm glad that you added some color to the motion. Thank you, sir.
I'm not telling the town of Logie Bay how to run their town.
No.
Bottom
Be it
line.
resolved, the town of Holyrood has no objection to the noted regional plan amendment from town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Windsor. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Crawley. Further discussion? I think we pretty well got it all said. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and speak up.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Motion is carried.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take a break now.
There you go. You'll be up again in a little while, you and Councillor King. Okay, recreation and community events. So we have Councillor Sadie King and Councillor Buckle. Who's going to lead that?
Started off tonight.
Okay, can you speak up a little bit, Councillor?
All right, can you hear me there now? A little bit
Perfect.
better? Yeah, first thing there, our committee met on Tuesday, May the 10th, at 9 a.m. in attendance was myself, Councillor Sadie King, Director of Recreation and Community Events, Steve Martin, and our Mayor, Gary Goodwin. There was a agenda there was a lot of things on the agenda, but I'll just touch on a few there. The Squid Fest 33 update. There's about 1,800 tickets sold so far. And we have them now because people were trying to get them locally, and so we now have them available at the North Arm Irving and also the Orange Store in Holyrood for people to pick them up at those locations if they're interested. And with 1,800 tickets sold so far, it's it's selling pretty fast. So if you're planning on going, you should try to get your tickets and don't be disappointed when we're sold out. Next one is the Canada Day. The town will see the return of its regular Canada Day this year. The committee will be hosting Holyrood Celebrates Canada Day at the festival grounds on Friday, July 1st between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. We have face painters, frontline action bouncers, Camp Ahoy activities, live music by Chicana, and more. So, we haven't had this in a few years due to COVID, but this year we're going ahead with it at the festival grounds, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful day and people can get out and enjoy themselves. I know a lot of people since COVID are home and looking to get out and enjoy these events, so we're hoping we'll get a good turnout, and we're hoping the weather will be great on that day. Next one, our Forever Young Opportunities program. As we are back to our normal operations, we will see the return of senior summer events. Recreation will be hosting a free barbecue and dance on Wednesday, July 13th for our seniors. And also, the committee will be taking our seniors on a field trip to the Southern Shore Dinner Theater later this summer. So I'm sure our seniors will be very, very happy to hear this and be able to participate. And hopefully we'll have a nice day on Wednesday, July 13th for the barbecue and dance. Next is our dog park. Our public works staff have made a number of improvements to the dog park, including bench repairs and increased some pea stone for the users. And, in that area, the pea stone was put in when the dog park first opened, and after a while it starts to get moved in and moved out, so that has been topped up. And if anyone goes up in that area, we talk about the recreation facilities, we talk about CBC softball using ball field there, I'm talking about the dog park, but you can go by here and see the amount of people that use the dog park. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Move on to the CBC United Soccer Program. We're happy to welcome Mark Marshall, Kevin Costello, Philip Barnes, and Neil Baker to our CBC United Committee. They will oversee this year's program. All members were involved in discussions of the history of the program and how we can make strides with soccer in the off-season. The committee will meet again to establish goals for both the CBC United program and the Holyrood Soccer Field for the first week of June. So that's our people that come forward to the committee. There's some great people there with great knowledge and background into the soccer, and we're very, very welcome these people to our program. Also this year we have our new soccer field, so we're looking for a great soccer program this year right here in our town. And also at our next meeting we will have a proclamation for the next council meeting, because June is recreation month. So next meeting we will have our mayor read and sign the proclamation at the next council meeting. And that's it for me from recreation to the event. But I will pass it over to my co-chair, Councillor Sadie King, to bring up a few points. Thank you very much, everyone.
But you're not going to get any treats, Councillor Buckle.
No, because the mayor needed them all. Anyway, it's this time of the year. The recreation activities we've had ongoing all the spring are winding down. So now the committee has to start looking for a venue for the fall activities. And every time this comes up, it brings me to the song, O'Brien has no place to go. Well, the town of Holyrood is in the same boat. We have no place to go. We have no place to call home for recreation. Anyway, we're finished at the start. I think it's June the 6th. And as I said, there's no place for the fall to go for activities. If the stars start up their activities, we're not going to be able to go there. The community centre at this point is closed. And not only is the town in the same boat, but the MGA 50 Plus Club is in the same boat. That has 100 members right now. We're trying to get back to normal after a couple of years. But how can you get back to normal when you don't have a place to go? Now, the fire department have been very cooperative with us, and they have given us the use of their room for to hold our meetings. And, I mean, the capacity there, we can only have about 30 because that's all they're set up for. So it's making it quite difficult for the seniors as well. So this town needs to get on the ball and get something off the ground for this whole town, not just the seniors, but for everybody. So let's get at it. And I'd also like to thank the fire department for their cooperation with the seniors. The other thing is the student applications. They've all been processed. The interviews have been done, and the town will start tomorrow to let people know whether they've applied or not. Cleanup. Our cleanup week, or 2-hour tidy, extends over 2 days, from June the 10th to the 12th. And we're happy to have Tim Hortons and the Marine Institute on board with us this year. The Marine Institute is going to look after cleaning up our harbour with a dive team and an ROV. We're also very thankful to Search and Rescue. They did a great job on Saturday. The amount of garbage they collected was unreal. And I think for our residents, they got to start looking at not just a 2-hour tidy or a 2-day tidy. Every day should be 2-hour tidy. Every paper wrapper that's picked off of that ground, every candy wrapper, is going to help our town, because the first impression you get of a town is what you see. Is it clean or is it not? That's the first impression you get when you come into Holyrood. So every scrap of paper or every bar of paper or every Tim Hortons cup we pick up, it's helping our town. The community garden is another thing on our list. We're now up to 31 boxes.
Wow,
We had to build some more.
good.
They can have them planted at any time now. We're going to have a meeting next week and invite all our gardeners in, and probably we're going to have a guest speaker, hopefully, to speak on gardening. We're in the process of getting a berry field started. We got raspberry canes ordered and blackberry canes, which hopefully will be planted next week. And the staff are looking after building a gazebo there.
So when do they ripen, so I can spend some time?
Don't expect in the first year, you know. They got to be established.
Then we'll
next
just
year.
blame it on the rabbits.
Then you got to be a gardener.
No, I don't have a green thumb.
And I think this is it, the cleanup, the community garden, recreation, and applications. I think we got it all.
Okay, thank you very much. And if I could just add to that, we, collective here as a council, we all agree that, you know, recreation and seniors events and activities are extremely important to the community, extremely. We've been working with the Star for a while, and then it was a community centre and it was back and forth. And Councillor King, you're absolutely right. We really had to start placing an emphasis now on finding ways and means of getting an adequate facility that will suit the needs of everybody involved in recreation, from toddlers to seniors. And obviously it's, you know, costing, you're into a significant amount of funding, probably in the millions, to do a proper facility to accommodate the numbers that you need. So if you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it right. But there is funding available. I think it's on a 60-40 for buildings under the infrastructure. So, and when we go into the new upcoming budget discussions, we can expect additional revenue. That's if the existing revenue does not decrease. But if it stays the same, because we're going to have some loans that are going to be paid off, taken off the books. So that's a significant, I can't acknowledge that publicly right now, but it's going to be a significant amount of money, and maybe that's something that we can look at there. But again, we have to factor in all the priorities, public works, fleet, you know, our fleet equipment. So there's a lot of needs out there, and costly.
Yes.
But we certainly recognize recreation and our seniors in the community and the need for an adequate and a suitable facility. So we will keep it on our radar for sure and see what we can possibly do.
Comment, Mayor, if I may, just to
Sure.
compliment this committee. I mean, you know, after 2 years being cooped up and everything and listening to Councillor Buckles' list of activities, my goodness, his job to keep track of it all, right? And a shout out to Steve Martin, our Recreation Director, right, for creating such diverse and inclusive programming for a wide range of people and interests. It's just outstanding, right? So well done to the whole committee, Councillor Buckle, Councillor King, and Steve Martin. It's so nice to hear. I had a question, I guess, was on in the community centre. Like, it's no longer available at all?
No,
They're not opening it right now.
no.
Really? Terrible.
It belongs to the diocese.
Yeah.
Church, and of course, how everything's rolling these days. It's on the nerves.
We
We
may
belong to the
have-
Grand Falls diocese, right?
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
still part and parcel, right?
Yeah.
On a short-term to medium-term basis, we may have an option that we can negotiate, that we can look at, but I don't think this is the time or the place to
No,
actually
no,
get
it's,
into it.
no, it's
But
not.
that
I just,
discussion will be held.
yeah.
with
No, my
the
ears
committee
perked up and I said, no longer available. And I fully agree, Councillor King. We need
We got
a facility, a proper facility. Agree with that. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah.
And last but not least, because I am predicting that Holyrood is going to be a buzz this year for the beach party, and I've gone through it 3 years ago, was it? During the come home year, 2019, I literally, and the day before, I literally had to turn off my phone because I was inundated with people that were up in Deer Park.
Oh, wanted tickets.
Hmm.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, folks that I knew at work that were up in Deer Park, Brickish Junction, and all over Job's Creation, and they were making the big plans to come down to Holyrood for that night and everything else, and tickets were long gone. Well, I tell you, they begged, they did it all. But I'm telling you, you'll say, yeah, the mayor was right, because leading up to that, a couple of days before, you're going to turn off your phone because people are going to say, Councillor Windsor, come on, please, you can do something for me.
Well,
And
we've
I
even
think-
had busloads coming here for that.
Oh, I know, and if we got that many tickets sold out now, and we're only into, we'll start in June tomorrow. I mean, we got another month to go, so, yeah, it's going to be busy. But that's good. Okay, thank you, folks, for that update from Recreation. And now I'm sorry.
And actually, Councillor Windsor took my first question. But the second question for the Recreation Committee, did we ever get the $2,500 back from the community centre? I know before we gave them the $2,500, but we never ever used it. Did we ever get that money back?
I can't answer you that because I don't deal with corporate affairs.
No, we allotted the money. We didn't pay it, we allotted it.
Okay, but it
Budgeted
was,
for.
It was budgeted.
okay, but
for
it
the
was,
municipal.
okay.
Yeah.
And the other one, I agree with you with regards to garbage, because along the roads here, it's awful. I just as an example, and I'll just use myself as an example, I cleaned out the ditch in front of my house there about 3 or 4 days ago, and within the next morning, there was coffee cups, beer cans. I mean, so people are still driving around, drinking and driving because it's on the sides of the road everywhere, right? And it is. It's awful. I mean, and just an example of the search and rescue. I mean, if you got to go out there every year and pick up tons and tons and tons of garbage and old cars, and I mean, here in Holyrood, I mean, you can put that stuff out by the side of the road, and the town comes by and picks it up and takes it away, and it's twice a year, but still people will go out on the side of the ATV trails or wherever and dump out old couches, and there's an old couch down on Hydro Road. Somebody just dumped it over the side of the road, right? I mean, really. So, I mean, but absolutely, and the last point with regards to there, if for the community garden, I'll tell you right now, if you need anything for the regards of fertilizer, come see me. I got piles of it down there and it's absolutely free.
Did you hear that?
better be prepared to.
Come anytime. It's not a joke. I mean, there's piles of it there. It's last year's stuff and it's great. It'll make rocks grow.
Oh my, the one-liners, just no end to 'em, but they're good. Just keeps getting better. Okay, thank you folks for that, and now we'll move on to Infrastructure and Public Works, Councillor Windsor and Councillor Sadie King.
Yeah, up again. I'll use the working microphone this time. Councillor Bruce King is the king one-liners.
Yes,
I
sir.
got to say.
Yeah.
So we've got a routine going. Myself and co-chair Councillor Sadie King in Infrastructure Public Works. You know, agreed. Like, I'll give a general update, and she will read the motions. And there's two very important motions here tonight. I think that everybody be interested in hearing about. So she'll do that now in a moment. I'll give a general update. We met the Thursday before last. That was the 19th of May, and it was myself, Councillor Sadie King, Director of Public Works Robert Stacey, and CAO Eric Corbett. Okay, and I think the list keeps getting longer. Like, the more stuff that we tackle.
I was at that
Were you at this meeting?
Yeah.
He didn't have much to say then, did he? What?
So I remember.
once. Were you there?
I remember the list was long.
Okay, I see that. The way it's written, ex officio mayor, so I didn't see it as the attendees. You got it. Apologies. Yes, indeed, you were, sir.
Apologies
Okay.
necessary.
Sorry, but I wasn't invited.
Flustered now with all the joking about the manure, you see. Thank you, Bruce. So, I'm going to try to bring forward to you guys what I think is probably the most relevant, interesting, or of importance. There were some discussions around an application with not one but multiple variances. So we discussed that, and we have written a letter in response on the town's position, which I think that everybody well understands by now what our position, or collective will of council. This council is to reject or not assume that variances are automatic.
Right.
For very, very sound reasons, right? So there was that. We talked about roundabout lighting, and there is lighting at the roundabout, and it is safe there. But we are doing a little engineering work, just a little bit of investigation to see if there's something that we can do there to improve upon it in a fit-for-purpose way. Okay. There was another letter from a resident on Butterpot Road. We discussed at length, and council is aware of that. What we did discuss and agree to is the need for developing a gravel road standard generally in town. There's many gravel roads, and what do we expect them to be maintained to? And one thing I want to assure the council and the residents that it's safe on Butterpot Road. We have confirmed, chief and others, councillors themselves have gone there. It is safe. Emergency vehicles can access the area. Okay, so there is a letter that's been prepared and sent to the resident raising the concern. Fury's Woodpath is another area we've talked about a little bit, and we are sending a letter to the owner in regards to some drainage problems and some other general issues with the area, timelines to completion, what our expectations would be. The mural, we talked about the mural, and as many people have probably noticed, it's been removed, placed in safe storage. It is safe and out of the elements. We don't want to rush where we're going to put it. Lots of great ideas were being thrown around, but we're going to take our time and get it right. So it's not gone to Robin Hood Bay. So don't
And
believe.
some work needs to be done with it too.
Yes.
Some repairs.
Yes, that's right. The structure that it was attached to, is needing repair. The wood is old, rotten. The plexiglass is aged and yellowed. And we talked about a lot of just for interest and beautification. Here, we all like that sort of thing. Some area they put in a conversation bench, a planter, make it into a photo stop for people. I think that could be beneficial. Incorporated into the boardwalk next phase or something along those lines. Yeah. So we talked about that. An area resident, some issues that her property had been damaged by drainage problem, which is not correct, and had significant asks of council, and we have responded with a letter denying these requests. Another another resident was asking about, it's a Seabreeze Drive, and that is not yet turned over to the town. Okay, that is private property, it's a private matter, and the town is not responsible yet for that work. Again, you know, the communication has gone back to the resident explaining and encouraging what could be done there. These are types that we get into a lot of these things. There aren't formal motions at this committee, right? But we want to make sure that we're tackling them all and letting you guys know that we are answering the residents. Because I know Councillor Crowley had communicated on that one particular matter on an email and said, like, have we gone back to the resident? Well, yes, we definitely do that. Tubbridge Road was brought up. Part of the integrity management system that you know, Robert Stacey, our Director of Public Works, is implementing. He's trying to identify the areas that are repeat problems, right? And those are the areas that should be targeted for our investment of tax dollars for improvement. Tubbridge Road is potentially on that list because it has had several water leaks over the last 2 years, right? And our recommendation was to develop an RFQ in the coming weeks to complete potential upgrades. And we would have to come back and formal motions and that sort of thing. Just want to let you know those discussions are happening, and it would probably be a qualification for gas tax funding. Talked about advertising signs, which can be unsightly and can be unsafe at times as well, right? Talked about that, and there's a connection there, I think, to the Business Development Committee. We shared some ideas at that committee where a centralized location of like a collage, if you will, or mural of advertising signs. You see it in Clarenville and Whitburn, right? And it's informative to residents because they can see in one area, we're all just really electricians too, there's landscaping services, all in one area, and it's safe, and it's not unsightly and all over the town. Those signs will be taken down. That's town policy, right? Inappropriate signs are removed. So we are working on that. And by the way, that could be a revenue generator for the town, right? Everyone pays a fee to have their sign at a centralized location. Correct, sir. Yeah. We talked about docks. There had been applications for docks and you know, in waters, but there's regulations around that under the province. No permanent structures within 50 feet, of, soon to be 100 feet, I think, of waterways. For information purposes, we talked about blowdowns. At this point, you know, there's a connection to another committee, which I think that will be talked about as well. So I won't talk too much about it. But there's a lot of factors around that, right? Like forestry, private land, crown land. There's a whole lot of discussion that has to be had around blowdowns, and we need a policy. I guess the recommendation is that, you know, town needs a policy on that. Last but not least, and it touches on, you know, the tidiness, I think, the other people were bringing up, you know, and the litter, and your first impression of town. And we talked about the farm on the Salmon Alone. You know, great to have a farm. Like, that's wonderful, right? Concerns have been expressed over litter and garbage that's blowing about there, and we are going to communicate. I don't know if we have yet, but the recommendation from the committee was for staff to reach out to the property owner and encourage them to tidy up their property, right? At that point, we adjourned the meeting, and lots more deferred to the next meeting. But that's, I don't know if you had any questions. That was a general update, and I'll pass it to Councillor King for these important project motions.
We got 2 amendments for projects. The first one has to do with a water tank, and this is going to improve water system in our town. It says, be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve a change in water tank size for project 17-G1-00049 water supply upgrade. This change will allow the town to increase the tank size from 500,000 gallons to 753,000 gallons, allowing the town to supply safe drinking water using a single tank rather than operating 2 tanks in tandem. Through investigation and follow-up discussion with innovative engineering and industry, it was determined it would be more beneficial and cost-effective to the Town of Holyrood to have a single tank. The change does not alter the costs and or the scope of the work of the project. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Sadie King. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion, folks? Councillor Crowley?
Question, was it one 500,000 gallon tank or was it two 500,000 gallon tanks and now we're moving to one?
One, and
700.
boost the bigger tank.
We're gonna have a bigger tank now.
Right, because it said two in tandem.
That's
So
what
were
we
the
were looking
two
at first.
250s?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yes,
Okay.
I presume,
There were
yes.
200, okay, yep.
So now we'll have lots of clean drinking water.
And then when we get the water treatment facility up and running, Holyrood is well positioned for future growth, long, long into the future.
Yes, absolutely, Mayor. And just so you know, Councillor Crowley, like we did test a few little questions, I guess, with the engineering consultant, you know, in regards to would it provide some redundancy to have two tanks in the event of unlikely event of a tank failure, and you still have a tank, right? And you know, the engineer responsible had come back and correctly pointed out, you know, some additional cost and effort around control system changes, operating procedures and checks by staff, and you know, good responses. And you know, on the balance of all things, we agreed, you know, it makes more sense to go with a singular tank and a larger one, right? So it was, but it was good to work through some of that with them. So, and then satisfied with their responses and their study work that they'd done, right? Yeah.
Okay, carry on, Councillor King.
You gotta get a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, wait, wasn't
Yeah,
that move? That's moving second, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we got
okay.
Curtis wants to
Okay,
make comment.
Councillor Buckle.
yeah, you know what I mean, like, this is gonna be a great asset, you know what I mean, it was already, going for two tanks, but for the engineering is, indicated there by Councilor Windsor and Councilor King.
Workers calling in.
Okay, I think Councillor Buckle.
Yeah, I'm sorry, last thing I was saying. You know what I mean, for one tank in the engineering stuff, the same goal, one tank, you know what I mean, it's still gonna be just as good and less control stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever goes there, it's gonna add a lot to the infrastructure in Holyrood for clean drinking water. And at the end of the day, it was one tank or two tanks, lines to provide more clean drinking water for the town of Holyrood. That's our main object, just as the council.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Councillor Buckle? Okay, those against, motion is carried.
And the next one is for sewer and pump upgrades. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood request Innovative Engineering to retender the sewer and pump upgrade request for Project 17 MYCW-21-00144. The new tender identifies changes in the design to get this project back on budget for the town, as all other previous bids had a budget overrun, which would have to be assumed by the town. The changes remove a large portion of the miscellaneous steel that was identified originally, and a request to look at alternate aerator options that will potentially provide cost savings. The scope of work remains the same, to remove the existing rotor and replace with two new sludge activation aerators. However, the equipment specifications have been changed, which will reduce costs to the town, bringing the project to its approved budget. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Sadie King, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
Yeah, I mean, just to add some flavor to it, I mean, look, anytime that we are, you know, this is taxpayers' money, right? Anytime we see an opportunity to deliver service or a system that's fit for purpose, right? To improve things for residents, but doing so in a cost-effective way, we got to take that opportunity, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, you know, and kudos to our Director of Public Works for identifying it. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's still. It's a slight adjustment to the scope, or, you know, say the extras, we'll say. But yeah, that's it. I mean, and we'll see what the applicants come back with on their tenders. and that'll also be reviewed, then it'll come back around to the council, right?
Exactly.
But we gotta look for ways to save money and spread it around other places that's needed.
Exactly.
Right.
Well said. That says it all. Councillor Buckle, do you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, you know what I mean, this is another project, you know what I mean, that's great for our infrastructure, you know what I mean, in Holyrood. And Councilman said, you know what I mean, there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff here that could come out and get that project that was cost overrun. It's like anything, you know what I mean, with the cost overrun, there's so much money that we're getting from government funding, but then with the cost overrun, then it comes back to the council, and then it goes back to the taxpayers to pay the cost overrun. So we're looking at getting rid of these few miscellaneous things and getting it back to where it should be in budget, you know what I mean, it's the right thing that the council would do moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And if there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Councillor Buckle?
Yes, yes.
Those against? Motion is carried. Okay, that's it for infrastructure, public works. Now we'll move on to business, marketing, and development. Few items there. I have one motion here, but before I get to that, just a couple of items I want to identify here. And of course, a lot of this has been discussed in the past, so these are initiatives or projects that are ongoing. So in regard to the boardwalk, Mills and Wright, they were up and did a walk-through inspection, and the work is being completed within the specs. And it's scheduled right now to be completed by June 15th. And we're certainly hoping for no delays. I've had a lot of residents who are getting anxious now. They're seeing it all coming together. And it's looking very good, and it's a job well done by the look of it, and it's going to benefit a lot of residents, because there's going to be a lot of footprint, a lot of feet walk on that over the next several years. And then, of course, we're working now in trying to secure funding for the next phase, and the decision will have to be made by council as to whether we go toward the marina side or we go toward the new marine base or the launch. So, and of course the lighting, all that's going to be factored in as well. So that discussion and everything else is ongoing, and then we'll bring it back to council for your thoughts and opinions. And hopefully we'll get that funding secured sooner than later. So when it's all done, it's going to be a beautiful piece of work, and no maintenance, because when you're dealing with asphalt and everything else, because I know that boardwalk now is aging, and a lot of the wood now is cracked, or it's the structural integrity is being compromised to a point that there's a lot of areas there you really have to watch where you're walking. So this will eliminate that and reduce or eliminate the level of maintenance that has to go into it. So, yeah.
The cost factor will certainly be reduced.
Exactly, yeah. In regard to the Strack Park, that's the area over North Arm River. An RFP is being developed to see significant work completed at the North Arm River Park. And there will be a plan released which outlines the improvements and how residents can use the area for recreational activities such as walking, running, sightseeing, and picnicking. So that's work is being done now, and of course it'll come back to council for their thoughts and opinions on it, and hopefully we can get this moving. This has been going on now for several years when Strack abandoned that whole project for their own for legitimate reasons, and so now we've taken ownership of that, and we're looking at ways and means of really enhancing and dressing up that whole area for the residents of that area in Country Path, North Arm, all that area to be able to benefit from, and everybody, of course, in the whole community, because there's a beautiful river there adjacent to it. And the other one is the motion of OHI, the Oceans Holyrood Initiative Consulting Service. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood accept the recommendation of Business Development and Marketing and approve the hiring of Pat Curran and Associates to complete the OHI consulting contract as described in the RFP, that's the request for proposals, April 28, 2022. The committee reviewed the proposals received and used an evaluation tool designed under the scope of work and the ability of the proponents to complete the expected deliverables of the RFP. The scoring was completed independently by all members of the Business Development Committee, and a cumulative score was arrived at through the review process. The range between the top and bottom scoring validated the results, and the cost of the contract is $17,020 and is eligible under the OHI funding agreement. So, as mayor, I cannot make a motion, so I will ask for a mover and a seconder.
I move that, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Buckle.
Moved by Councillor Buckle and seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion?
I just had a question, really. I don't know, no problem with the motion, Mayor, because I understand the scope of work and the dollar amount is reasonable for what we're asking the person to do. My only question was around, like, I guess administratively. I thought now we were opening tenders publicly. Do you remember a little while ago I opened the tender for the truck and I fooled up the price? Remember all that? And we made a joke with the confetti. Anyway, it's very exciting for me. But I thought that was the procedure now. That we were, you know, why wouldn't these have all been opened here, and then we push it back to the staff, and they would do their evaluation and the scoring methodology and criteria, and then, you know, the winner.
Yeah. Now, if Marjorie was here, she could nail that answer on the head, but she do have an explanation for it. It's time sensitive because this has been going on now for quite some time. But I understand what the question that you're asking, and I can't give you a definitive answer on that right now, but I will let council know. But I did ask that question, why wouldn't it, you know, why didn't it come before council? So, because what we had to do, the process that we followed, it was like the methodology and the evaluation tool and all that kind of stuff, and the scoring arrangement, right? So we all took a copy of the RFP, went on our own ways, but the tender was opened. I was there, and one of the staff was there as a witness, and well, there's two staff there as witnesses as well, and the tenders were actually unsealed in the proper way. But I understand the question you're asking. It should have been, we agreed that it's going to be done at the public meetings. Because then, like I said, because we're meeting every month, and Marjorie's anxious to get this moving now, this consultant, because it has been dragging on for quite a while, and it's, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with this piece, and she felt that we need to open the RFP. It's not a tender, it's an RFP.
I kind of thought it was going to under the same process though.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a tender or an RFP.
I think it has
Yeah.
to. And we'll be doing the same for the operational review, strategic plan
Yeah.
consultants, we're colleagues on that committee, and that's what I would want there.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would too, so we don't even know who the other vendors.
How many?
Yeah, how many came in.
Yeah.
Who was under the process.
I will have all that verified through Marjorie, and we will get it out to council. There was a big gap.
And gee whiz, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be difficult, but, you know, we did commit to something in the public
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel
to do that, and we haven't done that now, right? And I don't know how urgent this is. I know there's probably a desire to award it and get it done, but is that an emergency or not? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand what you're asking, and like I said, I will have that through the committee, and we'll have that information sent out. But I know Marjorie has an answer that why that this needed to go before council. But the main thing was to explain the process that we followed, and everything was done according to the book. But I agree, it probably should have been done at the public meeting, as we agreed.
Confident it's all about four.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but we'll have an answer for you, well explained, for all of council. If there's any questions, then you can refer it back to the committee. Okay? So that is the motion. It was moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Those against?
I'm gonna abstain.
You're not allowed.
Can I abstain?
No.
Okay, I'm against that. Process was not followed.
Okay. 2 against, the motion is carried. Motion is carried, yeah. Okay, that's it for OHI, for business marketing development. We'll move on to public safety. Councillor King.
Yeah, I'll start off and then Councillor Buckle can fill in the gaps. So, anyway, Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, residents at home, and the first time I get a chance to say it, and also the residents in the chamber. And I'll give you $20 after we finish. Made $20 tonight. Anyway, we had our public safety meeting on May 22nd, or sorry, May 26th. Myself, Councillor Buckle, the mayor, the fire chief, Mr. Stacy, Public Works, and Director of Public Development and Marketing, Marjorie Gibbons. We did talk about blowdowns, but basically we were going to, because there's no policy with regards to blowdowns, we were going to kick it right back to the Public Works Committee. And once, and you're absolutely right, you know, people that have residents where they have the potential for fires and stuff like that, and also Crown land and also land owned by the town. So before we get into it, the best thing to do is have some kind of a policy so we're not backtracking after we start, right? So there'll be more to follow on that one as well. With regards to the fire department has a new training ground, and that piece of property is up on Liam Hickey Drive, right across from Horizon Drive, and we got it from the provincial government, from Crown Lands, for $1. Okay, so we are responsible for doing the survey, but once the survey is done and everything is complete, the land belongs to us. And I know, just briefly talking to the fire chief, he has excellent ideas with regards to how to develop that piece of property into probably one of the best fire training areas here on the Avalon, right? We talked about it in our public safety meeting. There is really no type of training area where the fire departments, whether it be from Avondale or Holyrood or wherever, can go to actually train. So this piece of property has the potential to not only service the town of Holyrood, but it has the potential to service all the other fire departments in the area. So it has great potential, and as the weeks and months unfold, we will have more updates with regards to that. We talked about marina fire safety, and the fire chief, once all the boats are in the water and everything down at the marina is all set up, the fire chief and his team will go down and conduct the fire inspection. We're also going to talk through our representatives here with the Marina Corporation of a place that they can, we already discussed this before, all the boats that can't swim, all those boats will be moved hopefully into an area so it doesn't interfere with things like the Rib Fest, the Squid Fest, and all the other fests that's going to be going on. So that's going to be used for parking and other things, Canada Day and everything else. So more to follow on that one. We discussed the roundabout as well, and the rash of accidents and near misses that have happened at the roundabout, right? And one of our suggestions is maybe in conjunction with the RCMP, have an information session. And the information session will be directed at all age groups, whether it be seniors and young people, you know, because there's young people who go through that roundabout who are probably a little bit more dangerous than probably seniors. But I was witness there last week to an almost head-on collision where a gentleman was heading towards the medicine cabinet. That's where he was going, because I was parked in the parking lot of the medicine cabinet. And he was coming from the Furious area heading, instead of going around to the right and going around the roundabout and going up the drive and going into where the medicine cabinet is, he went into the lane going up to the left. And only for the gentleman that was coming down in a pickup truck, actually, slowed down and seeing what was about to happen, stopped and allowed the gentleman to go into the left and come into the parking lot. And I spoke to the gentleman at the time, and his comment was he was confused, right? And that's legit. He was confused. So we're going to try to have a session with the RCMP, invite all residents that wish to attend, and have an information session with regards to the do's and don'ts of a roundabout, right? So more to follow on that one as well. Fire department staffing, that was a big issue, especially over the 24th of May weekend, where it's the first long weekend of the year. Everybody wants to get out, go camping, go fishing, go whatever. And there was a rash of accidents. Actually, the fire department was busy. They had 19 calls in the first 3 weeks of May. 8 were medical, 8 were accidents, 1 residential alarm, and 2 brush fires. Okay, and on the 24th of May weekend alone, there was a call for an accident at the roundabout, and the only person around to answer that call was the fire chief, and he was on his ATV on the trailway, so he had to come home and go to this accident. And he did call in with regards to the other communities for assistance. Okay? So the fire chief is going to sit down with his staff and try to figure out some kind of a formula that, we have 4 full-time firefighters, we have volunteer firefighters, and to try to come up with some kind of a schedule where there's no gaps, right? When there's a gap, if it was a major fire or a house fire or a residential or whatever, right? It could have been a very scary situation. So he's going to talk to his staff, and once he sorts it out and comes up with some kind of a resolution to it, he's going to come back to council and give us a bit of an update. Okay. The fire department rescue vehicle, that letter, the application has gone in. The letter has been sent not only to the MHA, but it also has been sent to the public safety minister. And right now we're waiting on a response from them, and hopefully the response will be good. The other major concern that we had as well was the availability of ambulances in this particular area. And it's becoming a bit of a crisis. I guess that's the best way to say it. Ambulances within our region and around across the Avon are currently experiencing many issues within the healthcare system itself. Many times there is ambulance coming as far away as Brigus and Eastern Health to calls here in Holyrood. And sometimes the wait time for an ambulance could be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And as the mayor, who was a former firefighter, knows that 45 minutes to an hour when somebody is in critical condition is not a very acceptable thing, right? So that's something that really needs to be looked at through the provincial government, because it affects every resident here in Holyrood and every resident here on the Avalon. So if you have somebody belong to you who has a heart attack or any kind of a accident or medical condition, if you got to wait 45 minutes, that's not acceptable under any circumstance.
And now, if I could intervene, we're hearing that there's ambulances being held up outside of emergency with the patients on board because there's no space available in emergency. Yeah. So there's ambulances now backlogged on the parking lot with patients on stretchers, and the ambulance cannot be freed up, so they're committed, and they could be there for a half hour, an hour before they even get to leave the hospital.
So far.
Yeah.
Right? So
this is one of the major problems, like the mayor was saying. There's an ambulance there, but the ambulance can't come back to Holyrood until the patient in the back of the ambulance goes into the hospital.
Then the ambulance got to be cleaned.
Right. So it's a domino effect. Anyway, the other one we discussed was a mutual aid agreement between the CBS and Holyrood, and the fire chief has got a meeting in June with the fire chief down there, and he's also going to touch base with the other fire chiefs within Avondale and Harbour, Maine, to come up with some kind of especially a written agreement between all the different fire services, what CBS would provide to us in an emergency, and what we would provide to them and to other fire departments and other communities here within the area.
All we have now, if I could intervene again, sorry, is we have a reciprocal agreement with the town of Conception Bay South, because I remember myself and the former mayor, Ken McDonald, who's now our MP, we signed that agreement back a few years ago, but they're only prepared to respond in the event of a confirmed structure fire. They're not responding to our medical calls or motor vehicle accidents. The same way, and the reason why it's a reciprocal agreement is that in the event that there's a fire, say in Seal Cove, and they could have two pumpers tied up in a fire or an accident down Topsail. And there has been several times when Holyrood was called to respond to Seal Cove and Upper Gullies. So it's a reciprocal agreement, no cost to anybody, but it only pertains to structure fires. Yeah. And we do not have any written agreement at all with our neighbouring towns on the other side. It's just a verbal agreement for mutual aid. And that's what the fire chief wants to solidify now, get it all in writing.
So all these things need to be in writing. So Councillor Windsor might think that I'm doing something, and I might think Councillor Windsor's, well, no, that's not what we agreed to. But that happened, 5 years ago. So, okay, but if it's in writing, and they say, well, you will respond if in the event of this, this, and this, then it's very hard to get out of it. Plus it makes everybody understand what they're responsible.
That was question 5 minutes ago.
Right? Yeah, right. So, right. Anyway, the other one, I'm not going to try to. The fire department was out doing a training with regards to filling up their pumper, and occupational health and safety came by unannounced. Anyway, they scored excellent because the lights were on, the proper gear was on, and everybody was quite happy. So I guess the moral of the story is, when you're not expecting somebody and you do things properly, that's the best way to be. Okay, so excellent. Fire training is ongoing. They have 4 people heading out to Stephenville to do fire training as well, and the fire chief has all that kind of stuff in hand, and everybody down there seems to be doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And I think within the next year or so, we will probably have one of the most highly qualified fire departments anywhere here on the island. And the last one, we talked about it months ago, and we're going to get it done. We're going to have emergency response exercise, and we're going to have it this summer. We're going to try to incorporate both the ambulance service and the outlying fire departments. We're going to be able to show people the things that work, and we're going to be able to show people the things that don't work. Mm-hmm. I.e., if it was a multiple accident with 6 or 7 different victims, how are we going to get 6 people to the health science center, right? And there's no ambulance. So these are the kind of things, once we firm up a date, then we will let everybody know. And we all know that practice makes perfect, and the more you practice, the better you become, with the exception of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Practice really don't help them at all. Right? And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Well, the purpose of these exercises is not to criticize, it's to critique. Yes. And identify your strengths and your weaknesses, right? And we know that there's some weaknesses now in terms of equipment, in terms of vehicles and whatnot, but anyway, that's all going to play out.
This is great that you're doing that, and some of the exercises, emergency response exercises I've been involved with, and I know you've been involved with a lot more in the military, but from an offshore perspective, I'm 20 years at that, and they're so helpful, and like the mayor's right, like to improve, always improve, right? And I remember we had like a third-party agency, like actors and actresses engaged, and they would
talked about that.
It'd be just fabulous, really great exercise. Well done. I think the safety committee's doing such great work, and the chief and Councillor King, Councillor Buckle. On the marina, you mentioned the parking. Just a little update there. I did ask about that at the last marina meeting. They told me it's about 10 or 12 that they expect would not be floating boats, and they'll be staying on land. I seem to recall seeing more than that though last year, maybe COVID or something, but they said 10 or 12. They are actively launching boats now. They had a problem last week with the travel lift, the hydraulic system, and they had to call Pennycon in, come and do some repairs. So that activity is ongoing, right? So I'll keep council aware of that. And last thing I'll say on the safety, I brought it up to Councillor King when we started the meeting before we got going. I'm going to shame you all now, because I don't think anyone here is backed in, probably except for me and him. Like, I come in there, there's only 2 or 3 vehicles that are backed in, so we should always back in to park, because if you're going to leave here, you're going out onto Salmon Ear Line, right? So just a little safety moment for everyone.
It to be all town property is reverse parking.
Now then, you get called out.
And in Florida, you are not permitted. Down in St. Pete's in that area, you're not encouraged to back in. Head in, straight in. And I asked, the place we stayed one time, I asked the manager of the facility. I said, back home, I said, we always back in. And I said, how come you got to drive straight in?
I'm not going to comment.
He
on whether
couldn't
or
give
not
me
we
the
think
answer.
The U.S. is backward.
What's that? What? I missed that.
So I'm not going to comment on whether or not we think the U.S. is backward.
Okay, I'll leave that there. But anyway, on a more serious note, just to let you guys know, folks know, I think we're up to around 21 firefighters now that has their NFPA, that's the National Fire Protection Association certification, recognized by the Oklahoma State University, level 2, which means they can provide offensive firefighting. So when they come to a structure fire, and God forbid if there's somebody trapped, but the usual standard procedure is that you go in and search the building anyway, they can do that. There's many departments, unfortunately, it has been recognized in the last review that was done, many departments that don't have anybody certified even with the level 1. And that means you can only provide defensive fire department, tongue-tied here, long night, a defensive firefighting. In other words, old days, beat out the window, lace with water, and watch the TV, right, float down the road. So we're in a very good position with trained firefighters, with our volunteers and paid staff. But again, we're improving. We know there's deficiencies, and the fire chief is on top of it. Councillor King.
Yeah, before I forget, I'm going to turn over to Councillor Buckle to see if he has anything he would like to add as well. Thank you.
So, Bruce, Councillor King, everything is good there, as you ran down through the minutes from our meeting. I don't think you missed anything at all, so it's all good.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions on public safety before we move on to communications? Okay, if not, we'll move on to communications. Councillor
I
Crowley.
get to stand.
What?
I get to stand. Being a
long
teacher,
evening.
you don't stand, you don't sit very long. That's very unusual for me to sit that long. Communications, we had a little bit of trouble trying to organize our meeting this month due to prior commitments and conflicts. Oh yeah, it was giving feedback, wasn't it? Yeah. So we, myself and Director Steve Martin and Director Marjorie Gibbons met just to clarify where we are in the process with our communications plan. So section 3.0 of the communications plan, like we like to call it, what is now been ratified has gone through the committee, every step of the process, every section of it, and we are ready to push that into a policy document now. So staff has been tasked with writing up the policy for communications, so that will deal with staff to staff, basically all internal, council to council, council to staff, staff to council. Most of our internal communication will be written up in that policy. So once the policy has been created, it'll go through our committee. Once it's ratified during the committee, we will push it to council the whole and make sure that everyone agrees, and then after that it will go to council to be passed. So we're hoping that that will be ready by August to go like to council, pass, public, and the motion to table it. And once we have the communication plan in place, then of course we have to move into making sure everyone's following the plan. So the next piece would be the education of the policy and ensuring that everyone's following that. So communication does get out. Councillor Windsor mentioned that about, you know, I'm always kind of like, did we get that? Did the person get the response back? And that is part of the communications committee, is making sure that when correspondence comes in, acknowledgement goes back out. And if we have that policy in place, we can say, here, this is why it needs to be, and who is responsible for making the response. So policy should be ready late summer. Our e-services is giving us a little bit of hiccup to get our new website up and running, and it's just that we're on a waiting game with the company. So the company that handles our electronic services in order to do payments and things like that. Once that portion of our website is ready, we'll have it presented to all the council, the new website. And the last piece is, and it kind of crisscrosses with our corporate services administration. Yes, we're looking at budget 2023 already. So exciting. When CAO Gary Corbett said it, I almost had a little mini stroke. I was like, we just finished. But in terms of communication, we're going to handle the public consultation piece of 2023 and ensuring that there are multiple means of getting out to the public.
Yes.
So we discussed we're going to have a form that's going to be accessed online, and that will go out through social media, Facebook, on our website, all means necessary. That link will be made available. And then once, you know, we also have the regular means. So we'll have a paper copy available here at the town, and you also have the option to come in and present as well. So we should be hitting anyone who wants to be part of the public consultation piece, giving them options. So we, as a committee, will get together again, communications, and work that out, make sure that we have a very simplified, easy form to access, and it'll be pushed out to the entire public. So public consultation for 2023 budget should be streamlined, easy, accessible. It'll come in, all the data will be presented in a spreadsheet. We can run through all the data that way.
Perfect.
So communications, that's, yeah.
Because it has
that's
been
about it.
disappointing in prior years, if I could interject.
Yeah.
You know, when you only get one, and that's probably just asking a question, you know, and we've always advertised it through our local media. We've had it on our own web page, Facebook, everything else. But, you know, over the last 10 years, you can add them up, can't you say? And two hands, really.
Right.
The numbers.
And I think the problem then
we'd like
is-
to see more.
Right, but then the problem is public comes back and say, we want this and we want this and we want this, but it wasn't part of the public. So after the budget comes out, well, why aren't, you know, why isn't that part of the budget? Or why isn't, you know, this recreation piece part of the budget? So yeah, so there's going to be a big blitz, big communication piece that will go out and try to hit as many residents as we can. Just thought of another little thing that we tackled in our communication meeting was the new mailouts as well. So you notice that in the recreation mailout that went out, we had recreation made room for other departments, and there was a little update on the boardwalk. There was a bulk pickup garbage, so public works and services. And that's our intention going forward, is again to make sure there's maximum communication with the public. So we discussed that we would make room in those flyers, and part of the 2023 budget will be a flyer that makes sure we include all committees, so that there's a little bit of information for everyone.
I'm a big advocate of flyers because it goes
Yeah.
on every mailbox.
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand and recognize and appreciate the fact that not everybody has a computer, not everybody has certain devices and whatever. Not everybody reads the papers, you know. What?
Check the mail.
But everyone checks the
But
mail.
they checks the mail, and when you got that town flyer there that provides up-to-date information, that's as effective as you
Funny
can
said
get.
that. I was just watching Seinfeld, and it was about Kramer trying to stop his mail, and they were like, the mail doesn't stop. The mail doesn't stop. Right?
mail-
So
that's
anyway,
right.
That's what just triggered that time when you said the mail logs go through. No matter how much email there is, the mail's going through. So that's it. That's it for communication update for now. But we will have a formal meeting in the month of June.
Okay, that's good. Things are really moving along, progressing well. Thank you very much, Councillor Crowley. Is there anybody have any questions, comments on that?
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I could make a comment, you know what I mean, it's great to see everything moving forward, you know what I mean, but, you know what I mean, as you indicated, you know what I mean, over the years, we only had a few people come in for the budget consultation, and, you know what I mean, prior to the last couple of years, you know what I mean, we even reached out, you know what I mean, we done it all, social media, we even have an individual flyer going out for the budget consultation, but we still never got the feedback from the community that we should have, you know what I mean, because we did try to reach out, you know what I mean, it was a flyer, it was on the website, it was, you know what I mean, it was posted, and, but we didn't get much feedback, so hopefully we'll get it a little bit different this time, but, you know what I mean, even in the past, before we started this communication committee, there was, you know what I mean, there was communication that went out, like, just for example, I'm using the budget consultation process, you know what I mean, it was put in everyone's mailbox, but we still didn't get a big turnout. You're right on saying that, Mr. Mayor, when you said there a while ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, let me see. Now we move on to the operational review. So we have Councillor Buckle, Councillor Windsor, and Councillor Bruce King. Who wants to take the lead?
I saw a comment there. Curtis, Councillor Buck, you should see me. I'm like the DJ here, pressing buttons to direct the microphone toward the telephone so that everyone can hear you. My God. A little bit slow on the button last time. Thank you, Councillor Bruce King, for waving at me over there. Oh, my God. So, okay, before we get into the operation review, I just want to touch on the communication update. The piece there around getting back to the residents. I think that's so important, right? Especially because, I guess, the committees I'm involved with, you know, we are engaged on a direct basis with permits and applications and complaints and things of that nature, right? So, we acknowledge that a resident is entitled to a response, right? We acknowledge the response and get them a response. Now, might not always like the response, but I hope that we are providing it in a professional and respectful manner so that they understand it, right? So that's, I think, really important. So thanks, Laura, for that. And the operation review, myself and my colleagues, Councillor Bruce King, Councillor Curtis Buckle, and Mayor Garagoubi, met yesterday to continue the ongoing discussions about the operational review. I think it's such an important piece to the improvements of the town and looking for efficiencies and how we can work better. One thing of note, and for the councillors involved with finance, we did confirm with our business director, Marjorie Gibbons, that we can access some gas tax funding as the study work is linked to strategic plan. Strategic plan is around capacity enhancement, right, which therefore is eligible for gas tax funding. So what we will be doing is attempting to issue both RFPs in conjunction or as one. The work may be done concurrently. This consultant, if they have experience in one or the other, they may opt to sub that. We'll deal with that, but we're trying to couple them together. We do feel, though, as a group, that the operation review should precede the strategic plan. One feeds into the other, but we think that it's important to get the operation review done first. And anyway, you know, that's sort of like it's in motion, and we recognize it's very important. The residents have spoken to it. The mayor has talked about it on his campaign. We are all in alignment that it has to happen, and it has to happen soon. And it's a healthy thing to do. We are planning to bring a motion forward at the next public council meeting to take the next step, right? RFP. Which is the RFP, right? Thank you. So, yeah, geez, I'm almost sick of talking tonight. Can you believe that? But I think that's the overview, and I'll ask my colleagues, you know, to jump in. If I missed any important points, please jump right in there.
No, Councillor Buckle, you know, I mean, Councillor Windsor, you've done a good job explaining it there. And you know, I mean, we sat down yesterday and it was talked about, and we reached out to Marjorie, as you indicated, about the strategic plan and trying to get us through gas tax, because we didn't want to go call, you know, I mean, we had to go call for request for proposals for the operations review. We weren't sure how much money that we really had budget, was there enough budget into it, so we didn't want to start a process that we really never had the money in our budget. So when Marjorie came on saw it, said the operation review can be done part of with the strategic plan, and we could avail of the gas tax money with no cost to the taxpayers of Holyrood and taking no money out of our budget. You mean, me personally was the right way of going forward. You know, I mean, it's been talked about, as Councillor Windsor said, and you know, I mean, the previous council, before this new council got in, it was also talked about it's going to be part of the budget process to get this up and running, and I think it's all good. You know, what I mean, it's being done. It's not being done in any misleading way. We just like to see how we're operating, see how we can operate better. You know, I mean, the pros and the cons, it'll all come out. But you know, I mean, if the strategic plan got to be part of it, and you know, what I mean, we're going out to ask for requests for proposals. So when we do the request for proposals, what comes in, and you know, I mean, these people are the expertise. They're the ones that we're going to pay, whoever we choose to pay. And if they come back, and you know, what I mean, indicated they want to do the operation review first, but if two of them want to have it be done, whatever comes back, we're going to put it out for request for proposals. We're going to see what comes back and get the expertise from the people, from the consultant, whoever we go with, and get their opinion, and they will work with us say, at the end of the day, which is the best way to do it, to get both of them done for this council and for the residents of Holyrood. That's our main goal. Thank you.
Well said.
Well said.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? So hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have the RFP ready to present to council at the next regular meeting. Okay? All right, thank you, folks. And now we'll move on to corporate service and administration, and Councillor Crowley's going to pay the bills.
I am. So we met on May 26th at 3:30. CEO Gary Corbett, myself, Councillor King, and Marie Searle, Director of Finance. We continued on with our operating policy and procedure. Nothing too much there. Staff was actioned with some items to go out and look at different committees, liaison committees, that kind of thing, and looking at financials and terms of reference for them. Our municipal donation draft policy is ready to go to all councillors, so when they come out, please, councillors, review the donation policy, get back to us. We're ready to bring it to council to be ratified, put it in public as a motion. Procurement policy draft is ready and is reviewed and has been passed by our committee. So again, that's going out to all council members. Please have a look, all councillor members, and ensure that, you know, everything's above board. It's also gone to legal at this point to make sure that we didn't miss anything from the Procurement Act with municipalities. We're going to continue our discussion with committee to whole with water fees, etc. Budget 2023, we discussed public consultation piece. That was something discussed there. We also asked council and committee members to review your finances. So once you get our minutes, you all got a lot of work to do. Just saying.
Starts all over again.
Yeah. Our donation requests are motions in here. There's a motion to pay for a H2O conference in Halifax, and of course our regular payment of bills. So we are ready to put through the motions unless Councillor King has anything else he wants to update. Okay. So 13B there on the agenda, Oceans Holyrood Initiative. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve travel to the H2O conference in Halifax, June 13th to the 16th, 2022. This ocean development conference is focused on Canada's blue economy and hosts sessions on seabed surveys, technology innovation, and ocean tech hubs in Atlantic Canada and international regions. Kraken Robotics will present a presentation and information session on where industry is today with seabed mapping and where it is going in the future. These sessions are relevant to the Holyrood Harbour research and development projects. There is added value to attending this conference as we see Marine Institute growing its presence here. The Business Development and Marketing Committee reviewed the offerings of the conference and investigated the costs associated with the conference, and the committee recommends that the town support Gary Corbett, OHI lead, to attend the conference. Cost of the conference, including travel, hotel, registration, and per diem, is $2,603.51. Since travel is an eligible component of the OHI funding with the COA and the Department of Industry, Energy, and Technology, these expenses will be allotted to the OHI component of the budget. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crowley. I have a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Sadie King. Further discussion.
And I just want to say that personally, and I guess this is where the OHI consultation piece comes into it, where we're hiring a consultation. And again, completely personal feeling on this, is that we should probably put this into hands of a consultant or a separate component, whereas like counselors and staff probably might not be the ones that should always be attending these conferences and taking it back, because it might be taking away a bit from, you know, what our staff is. And I'm sure like operational review might show up some of this stuff, but personally I would like to see that OH consultant pull that back a little bit from council and town staff, but that's personal review.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. I mean, I think it's great, you know, and it bears some comment. I know that, you know, residents have expressed before, it's probably pre-COVID times, I guess, you know, travel expenses, right, to attend far-flung places like Houston, Ireland, and different places like that. And, so, you know, we do hear that, and we want to make sure that people understand that we're, I guess, evaluating the opportunities and you know, they bear relevance to the town of Holyrood and there's value, right? So I look at this one here and I'm like, you know what, this is our neighboring province. It is directly related to the ocean and what we're trying to do with the Marine Institute and grow the activity in this area. So I recognize that value and it's funded by co-op money as well, right? So just want to say that. I mean, I support the CAO in going to this conference. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is important to know that this is money budgeted previously for Ocean's Holyrood Initiative. Like I said, it's through a COA and the Department of Energy, Industry and Technology. So it's not a cost to the town.
Right. And
Yeah.
many
Important note,
times
it's not a
for
cost.
these conferences, we're approached by different government departments, you know, letting us know that it's in our best interest to be there as support with the government, you know, and so Marjorie usually does her homework on, you know, the relevance of this place. Like Houston, for example, we didn't feel that there was any relevance this year to go down there. That was probably a one-time thing, but Halifax, it's different. Like there's a conference ongoing now, which is Energy Newfoundland, which is in the oil industry. We do have a booth out there, and there's some sessions. But this one here is very important because it's totally relevant to offshore or for the ocean tech science and technology and everything else. So we need to be in partnership as we committed with the Marine Institute, and they're going to be there. Believe
You're
it.
right, Mayor. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, you know, we're participating as a larger initiative with a delegation.
That's the word I was looking for, the delegation. And we're usually asked to attend as part of a delegation. And, you know, when we're this long into, you know, the Ocean's Holyrood and Marine Institute or the launch ready to open up, you know, we got to keep ahead of it, and we got to be keep informed, and we got to keep in the know and be around the right connections. So we analyzed this one, and it's certainly, yeah.
Yep.
And Gary
motion
Corb
put
is the
forward.
lead on Ocean's Holyrood, so it was most appropriate. I was asked to attend, and I didn't think. I said, the CAO can handle this. You know, we don't need two of us there. So I passed on it, and he's...
Yep. So we're ready to,
Okay.
Mayor, if I may make a comment?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you know what I mean, a lot of these conferences are very important, and you know what I mean, our staff, you know what I mean, not only now, but in previous council stuff, I mean, staff usually come to council when some of these conferences are very important and relate to Holyrood and the economic spin-off and driver for Holyrood. So, you know what I mean, a lot of times we do have our representatives from the town at these conferences. And, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, we're elected council to run the council. And, you know what I mean, if their staff come and explain to us how important it is to have someone there, I mean, it's our job then to support our staff, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's between we're council, but at the end of the day, we need to support our staff for the economic drive and spin-out that we get from these conferences. And you're always going to have a few people out there, no matter even if it's a good conference, you know what I mean, there will be people in the community that will have a little bit of a negativity towards it, but you ain't going to change that. We as council just have to do what we think is best and what conferences we should be sending our staff to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
so the motion has been moved?
Yep.
Yep. We'll vote?
It's moved and seconded, so you moved the motion, so you get to close the debate. Do you have anything else you
No,
want to
I
add?
think we're good. We're good, we just need to vote.
Okay.
Yep.
All in favor of the motion, please raise your hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Those against, motion is carried.
Okay. Donations, be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve a donation to the Holyrood Public Library for a value of $10,000. This donation is identified in the approved annual budget and is provided to the library to assist with its program delivery as well as the operations required. The library is an integral component of the town, promoting literacy and critical thinking. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Crowley, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion? And this is an annual donation that we've been providing for many, many, many years.
It's in the budget.
because
It was already in the budget.
Pardon?
It was in the budget.
It was in the budget, yeah.
I'm going to ask Councillor Crowley a question. Is there a donation policy been sorted out? I think it's wonderful, by the way. I support the Cloudberries and music initiatives, and I know we've had a number of different donations over the last few public council meetings, which is all fine, right? but I just wanted to ask about that.
Flew through my update for CSA, and this is, remember I said, you got a lot of work ahead of you, so that's one of them. The municipal donation policy is done, ratified, ready to go to council to approve. Ready.
Okay, that's good. This is just getting, some framework around
Yeah.
when people come forward to us. What do we approve, what do we deny, and how much, and how
Yeah.
often, how long is the commitment, one time, ongoing.
That
all
policy
that
will
sort
be
of stuff,
for
right?
2023 budget donation approvals. Yeah.
Oh, I'm good. Oh, thanks for that.
Now, that's like the procurement policy,
Policy.
right? Because that has not been ratified yet, has it?
No,
Okay,
it's,
so
but that's
that's-
ready for all council members to view once it's gone to legal now,
Yeah,
and as soon as we hear back from legal, it's
Yeah.
going to council.
because that is a requirement now under provincial legislation. So I think that may tie into why we went ahead and did open the RFP, because the procurement policy is not into effect yet. So when we agreed to it, which we all do,
Yeah.
and you opened up the tender last week, technically you didn't need to do it at the public
No,
meeting.
that's,
It was
but
a timing of it,
that's the
right?
Town of Holyrood procurement policy. The municipal's
Yeah.
act's procurement policy is already in place.
The municipal.
The municipal act already has a procurement policy that we have to follow anyway. This is the town's procurement policy.
Right, okay.
So yeah, so that's, there's still,
So all that's
The municipal
still,
one.
it hasn't been ratified yet, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, any other
yep,
questions or comments?
no, ready to pass it. Oh, do we second it? So
And I
moved.
gotta say, and Councillor Sadie King, she's been involved with the library for several years. Do you wanna just give us a quick update on how the library is moving forward? Because I know over the last couple of years, there's a lot of activity
Oh,
happening
sorry,
at the library.
Mayor, there was an action item for her to come back for the next council meeting with information for the lot from the library.
Yeah, next meeting, I didn't get to
Yeah.
attend the last meeting.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Report from the library for your next meeting.
Okay, all right, that was moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Councillor
Aye.
Bucko? Those against, motion is carried.
And be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve a donation to the Cloudberries Choir in the amount of $150. This donation is a component of the approved annual budget and is given to support the effects of the Cloudberries and enable them to continue to contribute to the culture and heritage of the town through music. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor Sadie King. Further discussion? And again, this is a recurring donation that we make every year.
Approved
And
in the
we
2022
know
budget.
in terms with the new donation policy, which groups and organizations, we give to,
Yeah.
on a yearly basis anyway. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? You're
Aye.
going to have sore arms tonight.
And last is just the accounts. This is the regular day-to-day business. Be it resolved that the accounts tabled in the amount of $374,486, check number D2472-D2507 and 043176 to 043282 or 87, be approved for payment. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor Sadie King. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against, motion is carried.
And finally, our bank book balance is a nice healthy $77,780.52 because people are paying their taxes. Continue to pay your taxes and we can continue to pay those bills.
There
Thank you.
go. Thank you very much, Councillor Crawley. Councillor King.
Mr. Mayor, can I make one comment here for corporate services, or one question before we move on?
Certainly can.
I was just, I know we're going into, tomorrow is actually June 1st, so we're going into our 6 months since this budget year. I know that we, in previous council and committees, we've always seen every quarter where we stand in our budget, in the budget, what's spent and what's left, you know what I mean? With everything now with COVID, you know what I mean, the cost of stuff has gone crazy, supplies and all that stuff, and you know what I mean, our legal, you know what I mean, we're always reaching out for legal and that. I was just wondering if the corporate services looked at the quarter or the department to see where they are on budget, how much is spent and how much is left, because sometimes you got to keep an eye on it because you don't really want to let it go, and then the next thing you're overspending, you got to try to juggle stuff around from department to department. I know it will happen sometimes in case of emergency, but I was just throwing it out there to see if they actually did you have a look at that and where we're to, like on different what we're.
Yep, Councillor Buckle, that is in the minutes. We did discuss that, and we passed it back, and we did talk about how it's usually done quarterly. Right now, we're gonna do it semi-annual, just for this year. And that we are asking all committees to look at their balances and look at what has been spent and what has been still reserved, up until this point for June. And then, so their June meetings to look at the review what they have, and then for July meeting to actually start looking at what you would like to see in the 23 budget. So that is in the minutes and an action item for all committee members.
That's a good,
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No, that's not a problem. I'm just wondering if you know what I mean, we'll look at our own individual, but I'm just asking a question overall from the corporate services, like for you looking at them all, is there any that's standing out that's headed in the wrong direction? I mean, over.
No, Councillor Buckle, there's nothing that stood out yet. There's a lot of legal from last year that's being paid, and I mean, there's not much to do that. The bill came in, and we got to keep paying it. So that's the only thing that was outstanding so far. But we're going to get each committee member, or sorry, each committee to do it first, and then we'll look at overall.
and I think when everybody has a hand in this, like, because everybody serves on 2 committees, you know, you can really get a handle, and it's good to go through this exercise on a quarterly basis, because, you know, once you get in, you know, into the 3rd quarter, and if something has really gone way over, then it's hard then to try to do something about it at that time, because it's almost too late. And on the reverse of that, you know, there could be items identified that you budgeted for that you will not be spending this fiscal year, and, you know, it may be needed elsewhere within the budget, right? So it's good to do that quarterly exercise, and by having every committee do it, it makes life a lot easier for everybody. And then throw it all back to the Corporate Services Committee, and they can give us an overall evaluation of where we're to financially. So that's good, excellent, good work. Okay, notice of motion. I think that was just put on the agenda. If that's what? Yeah, if you want to make a motion, all you're doing, a notice of motion basically is to acknowledge that you have an item that you will be bringing forward at a subsequent meeting. And once you make a notice of motion, it doesn't require a seconder, and it's not up for debate or discussion.
And Bruce, Councillor King has a notice of motion, that's why it's out there.
Oh, you have it, okay, all right, you didn't, never heard you.
No, actually, we discussed it at our corporate service meeting. So, and I'll just read it, and then we will take it from there. It's a notice of motion to rescind the $25,000 grant to HMPC from the Town of Holyrood, effective in the 2023 budget. This grant was put in place in 2017 to assist HMPC to upgrade the marina, and as of 2022, they will have received $150,000 from the Town of Holyrood. HMPC right now is in a very healthy financial situation.
Okay, Councillor King, with all due respect, okay, that was the notice of motion.
Okay.
So that's as far as you need to take it right now, rather than get into the background of it.
Okay.
Because you're just making council aware that at the next meeting, you're going to be making your presentation as to the spirit of that motion.
Okay, forget everything I just said after that.
There you go.
Actually, I was going to.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to follow procedure.
And it will be brought forward at the next public meeting.
Okay, all right, your notice of motion has been recognized and documented. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, that's the agenda, new business, so we'll do the go around, and I'm going to start with Councillor Buckle, because guaranteed I'll end up forgetting at the end.
So, the only thing I had there, you know, I'd like to say a big thank you to the Brown Search and Rescue for the cleanup the weekend. You know, I walked the track from Holyrood to Woodford Station to around Harbour Main Pond very often, regularly actually. And, I do pick up a bit of garbage along the way, but there was a lot of big stuff down over the bank. But the amount of work and what they picked up and cleaned up is amazing. I'd really, really like to say a big thank you to them. this track is running through our town, and for them to come out as a group of volunteers to clean up that area for us, it's all very, very positive. So I'd like to just say a big thank you to them. I know the mayor already sent back an email to Mabel Tilly, one of the coordinators there, and tell them how appreciative we are. And, you know, I mean, Town of Holyrood works very closely with the search and rescue here in Holyrood. You know, I mean, we've, you know, they do use the garage that's next to our municipal building as for storing some of their equipment and vehicles. And, you know, I mean, we have a great working partnership with them, but to see what they've done in our town to go back and clean up the track area and stuff, it's great to see, and I'd like to say a big, big thank you to them. Thank you very much.
Here, here. Thank you very much, sir. Any other points, Councillor Buckle?
No, that's it for me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Windsor.
No new business, and I've had a lot to say tonight. So just like to say it was a great meeting. All right, lots of material covered. Well done, everybody. It's a great council. It's clear that, you know, everyone here cares a lot about this town. I'm proud to be part of it. So thank you, Mayor. Nothing further from me.
Thank you very much, sir. Councillor King. You're good. Councillor Crowley.
Just want to say again, I agree that lots of work being done, and just want to mention that tomorrow starts June month, and it is Pride Month. So as part of our communications and response to our grade 6 earlier this year, Holy Toledo, it was earlier this year. It feels like it was last year, that we will acknowledge Pride Month, and we'll have something coming up in work soon, especially when our communications meets again. We'll have something prepared to acknowledge.
I think we wanted to involve the school in some way.
We did want to
with some
involve the school
ideas.
some way. It's just, and of course, the school year is spinning out of control wildly towards the end. So we will contact Holy Cross and Ron Colley and see how we can participate, and make sure that we acknowledge it as well, so we can do our proclamation and
Good.
everything coming up at our next meeting.
Sounds good. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. And Councillor King, you can wrap it up now, and maybe with a one-liner.
No, actually, I'm going to agree with the other councillor with the outstanding name. I have nothing to say.
Okay, on that note, that is the agenda. The date of the next meeting is June 28th at 5:30. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Oh, all hands up tonight. Moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor Crowley. All those in favour? Those against? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.